And good morning, McMinnville and Yamhill County. You are tuned in right now
To
to
the
the.
root of it.
That's right, Ray. I am Kyle, and we are your Yamhill County Master Gardeners, and we are here to disseminate the information that we get from the Oregon State University Extension Office. But more importantly, we're to tell you that there is a lot of fog out there, right, Ray?
Oh, very foggy. Very dewy morning. Had to actually squeegee off the window to get out of the old parking spot. Ick.
Yeah, better than having to scrape it, though.
Oh. Yeah, we've discovered there's a downside with that scraping the window thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the window's too tall for the wife to scrape it.
I think it's too tall for anybody to scrape it.
Well,
It's
actually,
a basketball player to
Yeah,
scrape.
I'm thinking maybe get me one of them single-step stools and keep it in the back seat.
I think you're going to need something like that. But it is
Yeah.
definitely foggy out there right now. And it's really it's deceptive because
Yeah.
you've only got about a quarter-mile visibility.
Yeah,
Which,
it gets pretty thick,
that's not a lot.
and at night you're just driving along and you see the little yellow dots above you, and that's the edge of the road. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
We'd like to.
Well, actually, on the way in here, it was funny. I told you this earlier that I missed my turn because I'm used to seeing this particular marker that tells me turn left here.
Yeah, there's no lines out here.
You can't see anything. There is nothing to be seen, and so that's why we're going to urge everybody to be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah,
out
be
there.
careful out there, folks.
Oh.
It's a grim morning. It will burn off, though. We hope.
Well, we
Yeah.
hope, but at least.
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure it is true. Turn your lights on because there were a few cars where all of a sudden, whoa, there's a dark thing right there. There it
Yeah.
is. So yeah, much better than the frost and the freeze that we had. It was actually this past week
Yeah,
my
I'm
first experience with I think freezing fog. I've never really had that experience before. We call that snow in most places, but it is completely a different phenomenon.
Well, up here on this end of town, there's a phenomena of the vaporization from the moisture given off by the gas plant and the steel mill.
Right.
There's a certain amount of additional heavy humidity in the air. Every once in a while, up here, it looks like freaking Siberia, but it only lasts till you get to Staples.
Well, it was the strangest thing. I went down to Salem, and after being up here, and then as soon as I got into Salem, all of a sudden it's snowing. I'm like, wow, this is great. It's snowing. And
No,
then it's
that's
like, no, that is not snow. This is actually fog, and it is so cold that it's
Yeah.
crystallizing
yeah,
immediately.
yeah.
So
It's making nice powder snow.
and it's
yeah.
completely different than snow.
Yeah,
An incredible phenomenon.
Yeah, actually, I got an email this morning that was kind of scary. You know, this last frost that we had.
Sure.
Apparently, there's an Arctic cold front that's setting up to come visit us about Wednesday of next week.
No,
too.
no.
I'm
just dealt with this.
no.
I felt like I got through it.
Don't put your
And-
blankies away, folks.
I
It's
only had
not-
a little bit of
yeah.
cold there. Oh my gosh, not another one.
Yeah, my little four-legged weather front. She's burrowed into the fleece blanket on the lazy boy. She's done for the day.
I am, and to take care of the garden in such circumstances, because I think I was talking to my wife about this, and we don't really remember this kind of a frost last year. We don't remember this kind of an intense pattern, especially
had
one
it
right after the other. It was like a little light of a frost, but not a week-long cold spell that I can remember.
Well, our icky cold spell last year, I think, was after the holidays.
Right.
You do remember, it wasn't that long ago when we had like 16 inches of snow in the driveway, too.
Oh, that's true. Wasn't
remember?
it?
That's within this decade.
Right. But as far as the snow coming this year, my daughter tried to get out there and make snow angels, which is fun to watch.
In the freezing fog.
Well,
Frost.
it's more like pixie dust to snow.
Uh.
It's a strange texture, but she was able to get in there because for her, this is snow. She hasn't known any of the other. We're from Tucson, and then
Yeah.
we came up here, so it's not as though snow is something that is all too familiar with. For me, growing up in Colorado, I know what snow is, and this is not snow.
Well, there's one thing you got to kind of be careful of when it gets this frozen and there isn't any snow to protect the grass is walking on your lawn.
Right.
If it really is like it was like 22 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
my down in Eugene they had like -9 and -10, And I called the person that told me a fibber till I looked on the computer, and it really was -9 or -10. I went, ew.
Wow.
Ick.
No, and I heard your voice this week in my head because I was at a business where I just wanted to cut across the landscape, the nice grass that was there, and then I was about to step on it, but it was covered in snow, covered in frost, and it's like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. I will go walk the extra 10 feet.
Yeah, walk through the flower beds because. I've experienced that one where you walk out across the frosted snow to pick up a dog's business, and you think, well, I won't. When the snow melts away, there's going to be this thing, and so you go pick it up, and then about 2 months later, here's brown footprint,
right? You
size
see these
12,
big brown
right over
footprints.
to where the thing was.
Yep. So
you
it's
just go,
one or the other.
Dang it.
But you can't really
It grows
tiptoe.
back.
You just can't tiptoe on your on your grass either.
No.
So.
And it does grow back.
Right. It's just unsightly for a bit.
But anyway, we got some interesting things to chat about today, too.
We sure do. We are going to get into some, because we've been talking about indoor gardening, which is what we can do
and
in the
feeding
winter.
your family.
That's right. And so today we're going to talk about some hydroponic systems, and hydroponic systems are becoming relatively low cost, and you don't use a soil per se, a dirt soil, let's say. But you can grow tomatoes, you can grow lettuce, you're growing basil, herbs, and all of these things that are really great and beneficial. So we'll get into the different ways of doing that.
Well, we got to be careful what we promise they can grow, though, too, because during the hardcore winter, like January, February, March, when there aren't any pollinators around, growing anything that has a flower on it, so it ain't going to happen.
Well, it's not going to happen without some extra work involving a small paintbrush.
There's probably, 15, 20 vegetables you can grow to feed your family that don't flower.
Right.
All kinds of varieties of leafy vegetables. Some root crops, carrots, onions, radishes will grow. Anything that that grows from a seed but doesn't really need a flower to germinate to produce a fruit, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And that's why the lettuces and the herbs are really perfect for that, because you're getting those before they're doing their flowering thing.
Yeah. I was reading, during the course of my research, I was researching this one thing. It was like a job opportunity for retired people. You can set up these little hydroponic boxes in your garage.
Oh, yes.
And grow herbs and vegetables and sell them to your friends and neighbors. pay for your hydroponics. Actually, I suppose you could. But
well, it's all about scale in these kinds of things. And oh gosh, that's just another one of those promises. And you can look at these things. I was when I was doing the research, is the Arrow Garden thing that's produced by Miracle Grow, and that's the one that you see on the infomercials that you can put in your windowsill and has the light on it, and that little the little pods that you put the seeds in, and then it all grows, and it's always overfilling with the lettuce and with the basil and then tomatoes. And all off of that tiny little small light that's overhead. And a lot of the promises that are made through these hydroponics and these setup companies are often not capable of being fulfilled.
I first experienced hydroponics, like a lot of people, down at the New World exhibit at Epcot Center when I was about,
oh my gosh,
sophomore in high school.
Oh my gosh.
Where the tomatoes are going by on a rack, hanging upside down, and the roots are misted, and then they pick the tomatoes off because they all hang down, and it's all very lovely and mechanical, and you float around in a little boat through the gardens.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That's not what we're talking about,
no.
folks. We're talking about something no bigger than the kids' plastic swimming pool.
Right, not a commercial, grow house where they have just gobs and gobs of medium. But you can do these things. However, you got to go in with it, not thinking that you're gonna feed a village with what you can do in a small little confined hydroponic. You can do more than usually with the soil in the same amount of area, and it is relatively cleaner. Because you're not dealing with the dirt, you're only dealing with the water and the necessary nutrient chemicals that you're putting in there.
Yeah, we're talking like less than 40 square feet of space. Something 6 by 6. And maybe a foot deep.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it on one side of the garage. The place I was thinking was like down in my catacombs in my storage area.
Yeah.
There's a 8x10 space there that could
Plenty
easily...
of room.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of space. Yeah, especially with the developments that I see in hydroponics, where they're putting you have the wall features, and just the amount of stuff that you can grow in the space. But you think you could support yourself with a small space?
I could add to the dietary, to the shopping list pretty adequately.
Oh, you believe? Yeah.
Yeah, I really think I could. It's and there's even a sump pump down there because with my luck, that's
right. You're down there, down on the bottom floor.
Yeah, I could drown the whole bottom half of the foundation. Yeah, right. No, we're not going there
to flood it. You just ebb and flow with the sump pump.
Yeah. No, and to power the water systems is just like a $12.95 fish tank pump. I mean, it's not expensive parts.
It is pretty inexpensive when you look at that. The thing where you're going to get into the most expense is the lighting system that you probably choose, and that's why we talk about fluorescent lights being a great option, because they're low energy consumption, and they put out usually enough light that's all the plants need. But you can get into the bigger metal halides, sodium.
Then you're talking $300 or $400 just for a bulb,
right? And then you're dealing with 1,000 watts, 400 watts, and that can add up to your energy, and that doesn't help your food bill go down.
Somebody looks at your Mac water and light bill and comes over and arrests you for
right, exactly.
growing lettuce, right? Okay.
And we laugh about that, but honestly, when looking up some information for this, you just try and Google hydroponic herb garden and see what automatically pops up. It's incredible.
You get arrested for harvesting my radishes.
Right, exactly.
No. That's no. We're not talking that sort of stuff.
No, but
it is feasible.
It is feasible, and we'll go ahead and we'll jump into more of this. But we'll take a break right now. If you have any questions on hydroponics, indoor gardening, give us a call. The number is 503-435-1260. That is 503-435-1260. You're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Now is site lead Nick Olheiser. In fact, we're standing in the yard at Recology Northwest Greenland. Nick, thank you for sponsoring the show.
Thank you, and it's great to be here today.
Let's talk about the redistribution, reallocation in the company. There's been a little bit of changing of names and so on and so forth. Explain what's going on.
Yeah, we were actually bought out a few years ago by a company named Recology out of San Francisco. Essentially what's going on out here, there's just been a restructuring within the company. We are now more part of an organics division, which is allowing us to kind of centralize and hone in on the composting part of it, the phase that we want to be in. It kind of allows us to just share and reincorporate our knowledge within that and really build off of that.
So if you're driving by WOW over here by the fairgrounds, by the Shell gas station, and you're looking for compost, and they're looking to supply compost needs for large and small producers. So even if you're the small home gardener and you just want a bucket or two, you can come down and get that.
Yes, absolutely. We're located over here on Orchard Avenue. You pull in, we have anything from rock to bark dust to soil blends to just straight compost.
Tell me what's unique in what you offer here to the public.
What really sets us apart is the in-depth retail yard that we have. We have multiple products that a lot of other places aren't able to provide. One of our more popular features is the green waste pile. You can bring in any kind of yard debris, grass trimmings, branches, anything like that, and recycle it here. And then from there, it's reincorporated into the process, and in a couple months, it comes out as compost.
What are your hours, and when can people come by and pick up some compost?
Our hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, Saturday, 9 to 4. Anytime in those hours, come on by. We got a friendly staff, always on hand, ready to help out and answer any questions in any way they can and get you any kind of needs you have.
What are your price ranges?
Price ranges for compost, pretty much all of our products, anywhere from $20 to $30 a yard. We do half-yard increments. Soil blends, same thing. We also have custom blend services that we do. There's something that on site that you don't see or that you can't find that you want, we're able to blend it up for you right there and get you exactly what you need.
Do you have Facebook, a website, and a phone number?
We don't have a Facebook currently right now. We are working on that. Our website is Recology, or it's OregonCompost.com. Sorry, just OregonCompost.com. And phone number is going to be 503-434-1671.
Recology Northwest Greenlands. We're talking here to Nick Olheiser, and they're bringing To the Root of It here on AM 1260 KLYC.
Pebbles.
From the really great beer brewed in the room next door, to the tantalizing menus of pulled pork, Reuben, or try the bangers and mash, local sausage grilled to perfection, served with hand-mashed taters, caramelized onions and peppers. And tomorrow, there may be another surprise on the menu. You've arrived at the Granary District and the Grain Station Brew Works. For lunch, dinner, kick back and watching the game, or enjoying a brew with some friends. You can't beat the unique, historic old barn feeling for taking a break and having a good time. Smell the freshly ground coffee. Enjoy eating meals prepared from the freshest foods. Like Oregon, it's historic, unique, and a fun down-home place to be. Just a stone's throw from downtown at 8th and Alpine in McMinnville. Once you try the Grain Station Brew Works, you'll be back. See you in the barn. Grain Station Brew Works, McMinnville.
AM 1260 KLYC. On the phone with us right now is Bob from the produce section of Harvest Fresh. Harvest Fresh in downtown McMinnville. 3rd Street is where you want to go for fresh food, healthy food, and the specials are on right now. Bob, what's going on?
Oh, not much. How about you, Dave? How you doing today?
Well, I'm trying to stay warm today.
Yeah, those roads are kind of slick out there here, too.
Yeah, they are. So what do we got special-wise at Harvest Fresh?
Well, let's see. I want to start off with our holiday gift baskets right now. We got, every year we have 5 different sizes of fruit baskets, and I'm going to offer something to the radio listeners that I don't really offer to the general public. So if anybody that needs a fruit basket comes in and says, hey, I heard you on the radio and I want to order a fruit basket, we're going to give them 10% off their fruit basket.
All right, 10% off when you heard it on KLYC.
Correct. Any size, and all you got to do is say you heard it on the radio, and we'll give you 10% off when you place your order.
All right.
Another thing we got that's really a nice item this week, we got fresh poinsettias. We got small, medium, and large, and they are $5 to $20, and they're really nice-looking poinsettias, so if you need something for great decoration, we got that for you. Over in conventional produce this week, the citrus took a real hit this week out there in the produce world. I don't know if you heard about it or not.
Oh, boy.
But I think prices are going to really reflect the damage here very shortly. They're saying that they probably lost 50 to 75% of the Satsuma crop. The little cuties, probably 100% loss.
Ouch.
Navel oranges, they're saying was damaged severely. So they're still evaluating the damage. But I can tell you it's probably not far from seeing a price increase on that kind of stuff. So why the citrus is good and the prices are good, I invite everybody to jump on board and come down for that kind of stuff. But this week on ad, we have cauliflower at 70 or 99 cents a pound, I'm sorry. We have broccoli crowns at 99 cents a pound. We also have the ambrosia apples. I'm running them again a second week at a great price, 89 cents. They're normally $1.99 a pound, but it was such a hit last week, I was able to secure more product for this week. Over in the organic section, we have Lacinido kale, which is also considered Italian green kale, at $1.99 a bunch. We have organic cauliflower at $1.49 a pound. We have Cara navel oranges on sale for $2.29 a pound over in the organic section, and that's about it for this week.
Okay, so don't.
And we do got some hot meat items. I forgot about those.
Oh, go ahead.
We got fresh true cod at $6.99 a pound, and we have Harris Ranch Terrace Majors at $7.99 a pound this week.
And, of course, don't forget 10% off the gift baskets when you say you heard it on KLYC.
Yes, sir.
Bob, stay warm and keep doing what you do at Harvest Fresh.
Hey, thanks, Dave. You guys have a great day and stay safe.
All right, you too. Harvest Fresh, downtown McMinnville on 3rd Street. Say that you heard it on KLYC. And if you're looking for great specials, healthy food, the place you want to go is Harvest Fresh, downtown McMinnville.
And welcome back. This is To the Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM.
This morning we're talking about carrying on our theme of indoor gardening and feeding your family. And if you have any questions, call 503-435-1260. We're going to be discussing hydroponic gardening in small areas.
Small areas, not for the commercial grower.
No.
But and it is we're gearing ourselves more towards the wintertime growing period because, as we mentioned, flowering pollinators aren't out there right now. Although, actually, I know where they are if you're looking for them. I actually have a box of wood chips in the woodshed, and we have got a very nice swarm. So when it's been warming up, they seem to be coming out right there. So
that's not a bad thing.
No, we'll go ahead and we'll just throw them into the hydroponic area.
Absolutely.
But for the novice or for the person who doesn't know anything about the hydroponic gardening system, I don't know how would you explain it easily to them, because really what it is you're using more water and less soil.
It's a system where you keep recycling the water within the system. You have a couple of containers which have your medium or your planting the seeds in what they call rock wool. It's not a metal, it's a spun fibrous material.
Yeah, it's one of the substrates that we're going to get into. But I think you bring up a really good point about hydroponics, is that you're recycling the water that you use, and that's really important, and that's why it uses 10% of the water as compared to a soil garden, where you're just dumping water in, you're not reusing it, so it's going down deep into the soil, it's evaporating out away, and so you're not getting the most benefit out of the water.
You can actually use like 90% less water. So it's extremely
right?
Yeah, it's extremely environmentally friendly. You know, that's making sure, of course, that you don't tip the whole system over.
Right.
Yeah, we mentioned that one. We did mention that one.
So we've got this.
You gotta do it.
So we've got this this recycling of the water by some sort of system, and we can talk about the different kinds of systems. But let's talk about the different what we call substrates, which are actually just soil replacement. So the substrates can include perlite, right?
Right. Sand, sawdust, wood chips, because they'll eventually, although you'd have to put in plenty of calcium with wood chips to keep the acid down. But pebbles and rock wool.
Rock wool is a substrate. It's one of those, let's say, newer trends in the hydroponics. It's almost as though it was built for hydroponics, because they take rock and they spin it into this kind of fibrous thing.
It's interesting, but it's still a mineral product,
right? So
that when you put your seed in your rock wool, it thinks it's in a growing medium that it's used to, but the material doesn't break down and wash away like your garden soil does. It helps absorb the water and retain the chemicals in the water.
Rock wool is just incredible for retaining the water. I mean,
but it's kind of expensive, isn't it?
It is. It's expensive, and then you have waste. You have to you dispose of the rock wool once you're done, but you're buying into a system like with those Aero pods. You're having to buy the rock wool pods. So each time you're growing into that substrate. Whereas if you use the pebbles, then you can actually reuse those, and the core can be reused.
Well, yeah, that perlite is really just a kind of form of insulation, but it does absorb moisture, and it does give root structure.
That's the important thing. That's why you need the substrate for for a lot of these things is you get that root structure, but you have other systems where you don't necessarily need to have a substrate, where it is just water. Like, for instance, a root sprayer, where you just have this spraying of this highly oxygenated nutrients, and that's just going right on the roots. And you don't need any soil, you don't need any rock wool, you don't need any perlite, and it's a pretty. When you look at it, it's like, wow, that is an incredible thing to see. But then to have to be able to spend time and dial it in and get everything just right, for me, it seems like a lot of work, but a fun result.
I don't know, probably the best system though for the home gardener or apartment gardener for that matter, is the top feed system, where you actually have multiple layers of growing medium, and the top one rains down on the next one, and that one rains down on the next one, and then in the bottom one you have a collection thing with a little bitty fish pump in it, and you turn on a little fish pump and pumps it back up to the top, and it rains through its system once again. And it's not really messy because you use the one at the bottom's the biggest tray,
right?
So it just kind of like a little pyramid. So each one has the drip area of the one underneath of it.
In all of these systems, you're going to have a collection reservoir that the water gets, collected back in, and then that's where you can usually run into your danger if you're not taking care of the nutrients properly enough.
Right.
It just goes bad. So you have to keep it highly oxygenated. So you have this bubbler thing that's in there, so it's bubbling and keeping the oxygen in there. And then as long as you're constantly flowing it, then when the water's moving, then you're getting oxygen in it that way too. But if you don't take care of that, if you don't keep the pH balance correct, then you're going to lose everything. And that's what's really one of the more challenging things and least challenging things, I think, about the hydroponic gardening system, which is why it's so successful in commercial for commercial purposes, because once you get it dialed in, it's just you set it and you go, and that's it.
Well, like this little drip system here, I mean, we're really talking, for those of you who are watching this on TV,
which you can go to KLYC.us
right,
and see us streaming live on the interweb.
This is just a standard plastic container, and it has a big pot in it, but that's you can get these in about 6-8 inch depths, which are plenty fine. They're very cost effective. The one that was in this one particular plan, that was actually a IKEA stacking system. You got less than like $29.95 invested. And
the most expensive thing usually is the pump there, and that's like a $10 pump that you get from the pet store. But yeah, to talk about an article that we were looking at where a gentleman decided to make a hydroponic garden with all IKEA parts, and all he did was he took those shelves, those bins, and just stacked them up on the wall on shelves, and just had one set of plants up at the top, another in the middle, and then down on the bottom a collection reservoir, and it just dripped down. And it looked pretty ingenious and incredible. And one of the other things that we were noticing also is that it was on wheels. And for us, I don't know why we geeked out on that fact, but to have a hydroponic garden that's on a set of industrial rollers on that shelf, to be able to, I don't know, why would you need to move it? I guess you could.
So you could move it on the patio for some direct sunlight.
Sure, yes. For me, it was a wow factor. Like, oh my God, it has wheels.
Yeah. Well, you can, when it does, quit doing what it's doing out there right now.
Right.
It warms up to like 50 degrees at night. Then you could just roll it out onto the patio.
Is that ever going to happen again? Is that ever going to be 50?
So
far away.
I so hope so.
So far away.
I'm banking on it. I really am.
Right.
That's what's keeping me going, is the thought of the 1st of March. That's all. That's it.
I agree.
That'll sustain me for 2 more months.
Yeah. So we talked about the top down, which is usually a drip usually.
Right.
So think drip irrigation kind of system. And then they've got this NFS style, which is essentially a grow tray, which is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then you just you recycle the water; it just flows into there.
Yep.
And you just have roots developing on the bottom of this tray. And if you've ever seen hydroponic roots, they're incredible. They can get really long. I was watching this video about tomato industry, and those roots were like 6 feet long and beautifully white and didn't look an inch of diseased or anything.
No, because, well, like you don't have pollinators, you also don't have bad bugs.
Right.
Which,
right. If you have a controlled environment, you can control your environment.
If you get a little white fly or something, you know it right away.
Right, exactly.
And you can take care of it with some horticultural oil or something of that nature, so you don't poison the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you also, if you're sticking this in the garage, though, you've got to worry about your heating there during the winter.
Yeah, it's kind of got to have a warm area to happen. If you use, well, like in this one plan, he used those like closet lights.
Mm-hmm.
According to the picture, there's little short neon closet lights, and that's actually a 40-watt tube. It's plenty to.
It can get a little bit warm when it's on. Yeah.
Yeah, so that the heat from that will actually, I mean, it's going to be slow. It's not going to come springing up out of the plastic tray for you.
Right.
It will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we sprouted those little poppies that we froze a couple of weeks ago. They sprouted just fine under just a little light,
right?
Just the light of a cheap tube.
Yep.
So it does require light. It does require water and nutrient. It does require something to support the roots of the plant. The grow tray that you were talking about, I first kind of feared root rot.
Right.
But it's set at a slight slope so that it has a natural drainage down to the end where the water collection system and the pump is.
Which is also a really great point to bring up, because you don't want these roots soaking in the water. That's not what these are, because the roots have
you just want the water to run by.
They need oxygen, and so if it's a hydroponic system where they're spraying on the roots, well, the water has a lot of oxygen in it, and the roots aren't constantly wet. But if you do get the roots just soaking in water, then you're going to get root rot, and you're not going to be successful at all, because they do need to sit in the oxygen.
Yeah.
So they'll stay moist in these systems. The roots won't get, you don't want them to get completely dry, but you want them to be exposed to some air.
Well, they actually aerate it, make little bubbles by the roots.
Yep.
And turn on the bubble machine.
It looks good.
Yeah. And that's what helps break up the water system and also keeps the chemicals stirred up, so you have an equal balance of chemicals to your root system, and provides oxygen to the root system.
Right. It keeps the microorganisms in check, keeps the bad ones from progressing, and that's really what you need. But to speak to that, you don't want those roots soaking.
No. I really like this one that has a collection system at the bottom, and then it pumps back up to an actual drip irrigation system. And the drip tubes are only like maybe 12 inches long on the first tray, and maybe 16 inches long on the second tray, and then maybe 18 or 20 inches long on the bottom tray. And it just filters right on down through.
It is the slightest slope that you would need for that. And what we're talking about is the the NFT system, which is the nutrient film technique, which is you just have a plastic film on the bottom, essentially. And I think that works simply enough. And I can see this working as we were talking about, even as a winter herb garden in the windowsill. I think that this would work pretty well, because you've got it just draining all the way down, and you could even reuse the water that way.
It would. Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of commercial systems. I mean, a lot of the vegetables we eat, when it says hydroponically grown, these are greenhouses miles long, though.
Right.
This isn't windowsill cropping. This is whole fields of hydroponic gardening. So the system can be, anything that big can be miniaturized.
Scalability of all of them.
Scalability, and now they've got the parts that you can do it literally in your own living area.
And that's what we're talking about this morning is winter gardening, extending our series on that, and then just what you can do with the space that you have. I like the idea of hydroponic gardening because it really is using especially coming from the desert. When we did, it just seems like being able to use one of those limited resources as best you can. It's why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you try it this way?
Oh, absolutely.
Plus, you don't have to have all that dirt in the in the house.
Yeah, and you could anchor it fairly well so it doesn't get, unless you have like a big dog that runs over and drinks out of it or something.
You do not want the dog drinking
no,
out of that.
You don't want the dog drinking out of it.